Have you ever been told you're insecure, unstable, that something is just off about you? And the people saying it weren't strangers. They were supposed to be your people, your safe place, your family. Yeah, I know that feeling. And if nobody has said this to you yet, I need you to stay right here because this whole video is for you. I make content for women who are in the middle of becoming themselves, not who they were told to be, not who their family needed them to be, but who they actually are. And that process, that becoming, it is beautiful. And it is brutal at the same time because the moment you start growing, not everybody's going to clap for you. Some people are going to look at your growth and feel threatened by it. And some of those people are going to be sitting at your dinner table. I am not here to sugarcoat that. I am here to talk about it because nobody talked about it with me. As I started growing into who I actually am, and I mean really growing, doing the inner work, setting the boundaries, learning my own patterns, learning what I actually feel and what I actually need, my siblings couldn't handle it. And these are grown ass adults. They're not children. They're not teenagers. They're grown adults. Mind you, we're all in life 2.0. And I want you to understand what I mean by that. It wasn't like they pulled me aside and said, hey, we're struggling with your growth. No, what they did was try to put me right back in the role they needed me to play, the scapegoat. If you're not familiar with that term, enmeshed families where everybody is way too deep in each other's business, each other's emotions and identity, somebody always gets assigned the role of the problem child, the unstable one, the difficult one. And it doesn't matter how old you get. It doesn't matter how much work you do on yourself. The moment you step out of that role, they will do everything they can to drag you right back into it. So when I started changing, when I stopped accepting that role, when I stopped shrinking and started speaking, my siblings came at me. They called me insecure, said I had low self-worth, told me I was unstable. And I want to be really honest with you right now. For a quick minute, I almost believed them because it wasn't one person saying it. It was a group, a united front. And when multiple people who grew up with you, who shared a childhood with you, come together and tell you something is wrong with you, it hits different. It made me question everything. But here's what I had to realize, and this took me a long time to see clearly. When you start becoming yourself, people who needed you to stay small will always find a way to make your growth look like a problem. Always. Because your growth is a mirror. And some people cannot stand what they see in it. So instead of looking at themselves, they look at you and they say, you're the problem. I was never the problem, my friends. I was becoming. And the becoming made people uncomfortable. I want you to hear that again because I need it to land. I was never too much. I was never insecure or unstable. I was growing. And I was trying to grow in spaces that needed me to stay exactly the same. That's the real story. Not that I was broken, but that I was outgrowing rooms. I was outgrowing people. I was outgrowing folks that weren't built to hold who I was becoming. So let me talk to you now because I am not the only one. Maybe it's not your siblings. Maybe it's a relationship, a friendship, a job, a whole community you grew up in. You know that feeling, the feeling of trying to explain yourself over and over again and nobody's actually hearing you. That feeling of making yourself smaller, quieter, easier, just to keep the peace, just to stay connected, just to be accepted. You got so good at editing yourself that you started doing it automatically. Before you even walked into that room, before you even opened up your mouth, you were already managing yourself for other people's comfort. I used to rehearse conversations in my head before I had them. Like, okay, don't say it like that. That's gonna start something. Don't bring that up. It's gonna be a whole thing. Just let it go. Just keep it moving. And I thought I was being mature. I thought I was being the bigger person. But what I was actually doing was abandoning myself every single time. Here's something I don't think we talk about enough. Your body keeps score. And at some point, my body started telling me the truth before my mind could catch up. I would walk into certain environments, and before I could even process what was happening, my chest would tighten. My shoulders would go up. I feel myself getting smaller. And for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. Why can't I just relax? Why can't I just be normal around these people? But that wasn't anxiety. That was awareness. My body was telling me this place is not safe for who you are becoming. This environment requires you to shrink. I was done shrinking. Some of you already know what I'm talking about because you feel it too. The moment where your whole body just braces itself before you even walk through the door, before the first word is even spoken, that's not drama, that's wisdom, and your body knows. What do you do when your own siblings, people who shared a childhood with you, who are the ones who can't handle who you're becoming? Because that is a specific kind of pain. It's not like cutting off a toxic friend. This is family. This is history. This is holidays and phone calls and people asking why you're not as close anymore. And the hard truth about enmeshed family system is this: they don't want you to grow, not because they hate you, but because your growth disrupts the entire family system. When you start setting boundaries, when you stop playing your role, when you start choosing yourself, it forces everybody else to look at themselves. Enmeshed families, that is the most threatening thing you can do. So they call it instability. They call it insecurity. They call it you having a problem. Because the alternative is admitting that the whole system has a problem. And they're just not ready for that. That is not your burden to carry anymore. And I need you to hear me on this. The version of you that keeps shrinking or making yourself smaller, she is exhausted. She's running on empty. She is doing everything for everyone and slowly disappearing. And you feel it. You feel it in a way when you wake up tired even after a full night's sleep. You feel it in a way certain conversation drains you for days. You feel it in the resentment that you don't even want to admit is there. That's not who you are. That's what happens when you spend too long living for everybody else's comfort. And at some point you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep editing yourself down so that other people stay comfortable? Or are you going to choose you? I chose me, my friends, and it did cost me. I'm not going to pretend it didn't. Some relationships changed, some ended. People I shared a whole childhood with couldn't go where I was going. And that grief is real, my friends. That grief is real. You're allowed to grieve the relationships that couldn't survive your growth. Even when those relationships are family, even when it's your siblings, that grief is valid. But on the other side of that, I found myself, not the edited version, not the version that rehearsed every conversation before having it, the real one, the one who speaks the truth even when her voice shakes, the one who walks into rooms as her full self and doesn't apologize for it. And here's what I want you to know. When you stop making yourself small, everything shifts. Not everyone's going to understand it. Not everyone's going to celebrate you. Your own family might not celebrate you. And that's one of the hardest things to accept. But the right people won't need you to be less. The right people will meet you exactly where you are. Don't make yourself smaller to make other people comfortable, especially grown-ass adults. Not for family, not for siblings, not for anybody. Be unapologetically you. That is not selfish, my friends. If something in this video hit home, if you found yourself nodding or maybe tearing up a little or just thinking, yeah, that's exactly my life, you're not alone in this, not even a little bit. I create content for women who are learning how to choose themselves without guilt. Women who are doing the hard work of becoming, even when the people closest to them can't handle it. If that's you, you're in the right space. I want to hear you in the comments. Have you ever been a scapegoat in your family? Have your siblings ever made your growth feel like a problem? Tell me about it below. I read every single comment. And if this video spoke to somebody you know, a woman who has been fighting to be seen in her own family, please share it with her, because sometimes the right words find us exactly at the right moment. I'll see you in the next video, my friends. Bye.